Alright guys, what's up? It's your boy Spiderwolf back for another JJKPhantomparade video. So today we're going to be going over brand new boys coming out, Ino, as well as Dagon. So, as well as, shooting something for Ino. But before we get started though, I greatly appreciate if you guys could drop a like, comment, subscribe, would really help me out trying to get 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. But with that being said, let's get right into this. So, first thing that we're starting off with here is 25 million player memo, which is pretty cool. So, they were like, hey, we finally hit 25 million players worldwide, so we're getting a free, oh my bad, not free. So the milestone's cool, but sadly though, we are getting, it is a SSR character guaranteed gacha. So you basically do 110 roll, you get one of these featured SSR characters or guaranteed. The problem is that it is not free. As you guys can see here, it is only paid cubes, and this is something that this game really likes to do. For any big milestones, most of the time they just are like, if it's not anniversary, they're like, you know what, paid cubes only, which is a bit of a downside, not gonna lie, especially because JP got a free one. Actually, they got a free SSR gacha ticket, but it is what it is. Also, the JP did get one exactly like this, but their version is way better. Like if we took a quick look here, like if we look at JP's version, they literally have Choso, who I'm kind of blocking here, but like literally already makes the banner way worth it. And not to mention the fact that they actually got a free SSR gacha ticket, which is kind of funny that we don't. But yeah, so overall JP's is just generally way better for the celebration. But anyways, let's go into Shitty Summon. So as you guys can see, we got brand new Ino here, as well as a brand new Recollection bit. Ino Inumaki, which Recollection bit itself is okay, but not too crazy. And of course, we're getting a brand new story event for Ino, the one we were supposed to get like a little while ago. And this one basically, it's going to be a lottery event. You do your stages, and you do your bosses. You farm that up until you hit box 7, you reset box 7, you get free 10 roll for Ino here, and then you get a free recollection bit out of it as well, and blue characters will be boosted in this, and of course Ino and the 2 recollection bits here. Now going to the tier list here, Ino is going to be a DPS character. He's going to be A tier, so not really a character you need to worry about summoning for. He's not too bad, but as you can see, A tier, not really worth going out of your way for. So let's go ahead and take a look at what our boy Ino does. Ino Takuma. So he does have mixed stats here for physical and jutsu, leaning more towards jutsu, which makes sense. He's a part of the Tokyo Jutsu High officials. So if anything in the future comes up where this affiliation matters, then there you go. He's also considered an attacker role, so does play a bit of a role as to where he does land in the tier list, right? Anyways, what's more important, the skills. So starting off with skill 1 here, Punch. At level 1, he deals 97 melee physical damage to one enemy, and then if he's in the Spirit Turtle state, changes the skill into Sliding Strike, which causes 0 cursed energy, which usually that's the case, right? Usually the first skill causes 0 cursed energy. And basically what it does is that now you deal 265 melee physical damage to one enemy for 3 hits, and you increase your own damage dealt by 12% or technically 12.2% for 2 turns, which honestly quite good. Now at level 10, we're looking at 150 melee physical damage to one enemy, and then if you do have the Spirit Turtle state, that jumps up to 450, and you now get 20% damage dealt increase for 2 turns. So pretty good. Also very nice that you do at least get a bit of a damage boost for literally just doing skill 1, which costs no cursed energy. So you can literally abuse this and maybe pop this and pop your ultimate, so that way you get an extra damage buff. So that's kind of cool. But honestly, yeah, not bad for skill 1. Now, skill 2 here, number 1, Kaiichi, level 1, costs 20 curse energy, and basically what it does is when it increases your own Jujutsu stat by 23% for 1 turn one time, so only 1 attack, then you deal 265.8 range Jujutsu damage to one enemy, and then if you're in the Spirit Turtle state, add the following effect into skill. So now you also increase your own damage dealt by 30% for 2 turns. Which is pretty cool. So far we're seeing a bit of a pattern here where he does increase his own damage. So, some situations you may want to only use skill 1, but it looks like you may preferably want to use the other skills. Now, at level 10, we're looking at increase only Jujutsu stat by 40% now for 1 turn one time. You're now dealing 450 range Jujutsu damage to one enemy, so a lot more damage. And then now, if you're in the Spirit Turtle state, you're increasing your own damage dealt by 30%, so an extra 10% at level 10 compared to skill 1, so that's pretty cool. Also, Jujutsu stat being 40% is kind of also really cool. Downside though is that it's only for 1 turn and 1 time, so can't really stack this up with anything. At least currently, unless maybe if you care in the future is like, oh, increases stackable buffs or something, or increases turns on stat buffs. Anyways, skill 3 here, number 2, Spirit Turtle. it does cost 35 curse energy, and then at level 1, inflict Spirit Turtle state to self for 4 turns, cannot be stacked. So you basically might as well just not use this until you're on like your final turn, basically. The reuse cooldown is 3 turns, so you basically have to wait the full 4 turns anyways. And then basically when you're in this state, the Spirit Turtle state, you evade enemies' attacks by a 12% chance, so not super high. Decrease own damage dealt by 30%, cannot be removed or weakened, so that's pretty cool. So just guaranteed 30% damage dealt decrease for anything, no matter what. Nobody can take it away from you. And decreases own ultimate skill charging rate by 20%, also cannot be removed or weakened. So basically helping him get his ultimate faster and also making it to where he can't be killed as easily or as quickly. Now, using this skill again during the Spirit Turtle state will inflict the following effect. Reduce cursed energy cost and increase own damage dealt by 30% for 4 turns, but it cannot be stacked. So that's actually quite good. This is a very good skill. So basically when you're probably going to use your ultimate, or maybe a turn before you do the ultimate, maybe you want to use this skill again to get this extra damage buff, but that's pretty cool. But of course the downside is that you can't stack this one, but that's still really good regardless, and also having the reduced cursed energy is also pretty cool. Now, at level 10, we're looking at 20% chance now to evade an enemy attack, so that's a bit better, not a lot better, but a bit better. Decreasing the enemy or decreasing own damage dealt, and then decrease own ultimate skill charge rate is still the same. So damage dealt decrease is 30%, and then decrease own ultimate skill charging rate by 20%. Wait a minute. Hold on. This decreases own ultimate skill charging rate by 20%. Actually, that sounds more like a debuff, right? Yeah, no, I think that's a debuff. My bad. I think I read that wrong. Yeah, that sounds more like a debuff. So, if you're decreasing your ultimate skill charging rate by 20%, that kind of sounds, yeah, no, that's bad, because that basically means that you're gonna get to your ultimate slower. My bad, guys. I read that completely wrong. I think my brain was focusing on the reduced cursed energy, and I was assuming that was the same thing as this. But yeah, my bad. No, that's actually a bit of a yeah, that's a downside. And the fact you can't remove it means you're basically stuck with having with it taking longer to get to your ultimate. So that does suck, actually. Because yeah, if it was increased own ultimate skill charging rate, that would be a lot better, but if it's decreasing, that means it's going to be a lot more difficult to get your ultimate skill charge with that. But yeah, sorry about that, guys. Anyways though, when you do activate Spirit Turtle, again after you did already activate it one time, you do reduce your cursed energy cost and own, and you increase your own damage dealt by 30% now at level 10, so I don't know why I said now, because it didn't change. So skill 3 honestly doesn't have too many buffs in terms of like leveling up, other than just giving you a higher chance up to a max of 20% for evading enemy attacks. So honestly, if you really wanted to, you could probably easily skip out on leveling skill 3, because it's not really that beneficial, other than like having a somewhat higher chance to evade an enemy attack. But even then, 20% is still really low. So like if it was 50%, okay, not bad, but 20% is still pretty low to me. So you could probably skip out on skill 3 if you really wanted to, or leave it at like level 7 or level 8, right? But yeah, not really that great. Now, moving on to the ultimate here. Auspicious Beast Summon. Not gonna lie, I thought I said breast. Anyways, at level 1 here, you increase your own Jutsu stat by 27.9% for one time, so only for the ultimate. And you deal 531 range Jutsu damage to one enemy for 2 hits. So all this guy basically does is a lot of single target hits, so pretty good for bosses basically, but not really that good for any AoE content. At level 10 though, he's now increasing his own Jutsu stat by 50% for one turn one time, and now he's dealing 900 range Jutsu damage to one enemy for 2 hits. So a bit better, but even then, yeah, not really that great, because there's characters like Gojo that really do, I want to say 1,000 anyways, or you know, basically like it would equate to that. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's not that crazy to me at least. I mean, 900 is still really good, especially because it is single target, but the fact that it is the only things you get out of it, like only 50% jutsu buff, which is still good, but like at this day and age, you know, it's like not as much as like other characters are giving, right? So not nearly that great. His combo ultimate here though, he does deal 130 range jutsu to one enemy, and then he restores his own and the allies cursed energy by 20. His auto skills here, because he does have 2 of them. I'm gonna become grade 1 sorcerer before using any skill. Increase own jutsu stat by 10%, and then recover own cursed energy by 10 only once during battle. I'm not too sure what they mean by I'm gonna become grade 1 sorcerer. This might be like a bit of a text bug thing or like whatever. But it's basically, as it says here, before using any skill, you do increase your own jutsu stat by 10%, and then you recover your own cursed energy by 10, but it does say only once during battle, so I'm not too sure what the actual requirement of this one is. I don't think it's based off not based off any skill, so Not too sure what the requirement of this one is, unless it's like immediately during battle, because it doesn't have any turn limit. So maybe this is just saying like when you start battle, you just get a flat out 10% jutsu buff, and then you recover your own cursed energy by 10 maybe every turn. But judging by this, I'm assuming it's only like the beginning or whenever you meet this condition. Anyways, second one here, Spirit Turtle State. In Spirit Turtle State, inflict one additional action one turn. If receiving an enemy's attack, recover own cursed energy by 5 only once per turn. So not too bad, because you do get some extra cursed energy every turn basically, as long as you get hit once when you're in Spirit Turtle State, but not super crazy. But yeah, overall, looking at our boy Ino, he does have some interesting stuff with skill 1 and skill 2. Skill 3 is a little bit lackluster for upgrades, but what it does itself isn't too bad, though the debuff is kind of lame. And then the ultimate is like not bad, but not super crazy, just like big damage, and you do get a 50% jutsu buff at level 10. So yeah, and then his auto skills are kind of not super crazy. Yeah, definitely though, I just probably know the answer of, yeah, not really worth something for. If you get him on the free multi, cool, but definitely another character you would really need to worry about building out, because it's not that great in my opinion. Besides, you can just get Jogo, level him up, get his SP potential, and he's like way better, and he's like double S tier, you know, with all his buffs. So yeah, way better. Or you can go for Sukuna, but at the same time may not be super smart to go for Sukuna at this current moment, or at the very least not to go too heavily, because we're going to probably be getting way better stuff and potentially a new Sukuna very soon. Now, going on to the memory tier list here, we do have 2 new ones, right? So we have the one on the gacha banner, which is actually S tier jutsu one, so that's a pretty good sign. And then the other one, which is the free-to-play one, if you do the event and you do finish it, is going to be, I think it's this one, right? Yeah, this one right here. It's going to be utility one, and it is S tier, so actually 2 pretty good recollection bits. But let's take a look at what they do. So here's the one from the gacha. Coffee break in the afternoon. It does both buff both stats, physical and jutsu at 41. So when you do anything, a skill or ultimate, you increase your own jutsu stat by 30% for 3 turns at a 6-turn cooldown, so that's pretty good. With one dupe, if self-inflicting additional actions stay at the start of turn, increases own damage dealt by 15% for 1 turn, so not too bad, a little bit decent, which of course ties in very well for Ino or anybody else that I'm assuming can apply a state, but it does say when inflicting additional action, so this would only work for a certain amount of characters, but not for every characters, right? So a little bit limited in that regard, but of course would work really well with Ino. And then if you do have it at level 3 or 3 dupes, now you increase your jutsu stat by 50% instead of 30%. So honestly, not half bad, not super crazy, but at the same time, it is 3 turns of this buff, so that's pretty cool. And at a 6-turn cooldown is also very nice, but definitely not something I would say you need to go out of your way for. It's not bad. If you do get it, cool. Otherwise, I would genuinely not worry about it. Now here's the one from the event, the free-to-play one, Baker Real. Both stats are boosted, physical and jutsu at 30%. And then basically, when you do any skill or ultimate, you grant yourself taunt for 2 turns at an 8-turn cooldown, so it's kind of decent. So this could work really great for some characters that have a counter, like Niwa. This would be really good on her. And then at level 1 dupe here, at the start of battle, decrease all allies' damage received by 5% for 5 turns except yourself. So this is like a decent buff for everybody, but not super crazy. And 5 turns is like not half bad either. But at this point, if it, in my opinion, if it was if you're reducing everybody's damage dealt by 5%, you might as well increase it to like until you die, basically, to finish the stage, in my opinion. Anyways, here, lastly, to wrap things up, if you do get it at 3 dupes, you're now going to be also giving this additional buff here of increased own damage dealt by 10% for 2 turns. So that's kind of cool. And the taunt does still stay the same for the amount of turns. So that's pretty much it. Definitely can see why it's a bit of a utility cut, because the taunt is actually pretty cool, especially for it being 2 turns. I'd say that's probably the best thing out of this. And I guess the extra damage received is kind of cool, I guess, the reducing of that. And then increasing your damage is also not bad, I guess, but not super crazy. And then the very last thing, right? Dagon here. Let's look at Dagon, right? Let's see exactly what Dagon does. So he's yellow. I'm not gonna lie, I thought he was like a blue character or whatever, but he's gonna be yellow. He does have mixed stats here. 8,000 for physical and then 10,000 for jutsu here. He's an attacker character. Characteristic, receives damage when targeted by reverse curse techniques. So that's pretty cool. If you guys are wondering, this guy's going to be a free-to-play character. He'll be added to the shop for free on the Phantom Metal Chain Shop, so you guys can pick this guy up for free. That's why I've been saving mine currently. If you guys haven't been saving them up, you'll have to wait a little while to get Dagon, but you know, we'll take a look if you're really missing out on anything, right? Because currently the only really good one is Jogo, and then Mahito used to be the best one, but now Mahito got power crept like crazy, so it's kind of ass currently, and Jogo's currently the best one out of the main 4 or 5 of them that exist in Phantom Metal Exchange Shop. Anyways, going to skill 1 here. Kick at level 1 deals 97.4% melee physical damage to one enemy. When domain horizon of the captivating Skanda is expanded, change into Death Swarm 1. At level 10, you're dealing 150 melee damage, and then everything else is the same. And then here's going to be changed skill 1. So this is what it turns into. This is what it looks like as Death Swarm. So at Death Swarm, at level 1, you deal now 209 range jutsu damage to all enemies for 5 hits. So that's really good. You recover your own curse energy by 10 regardless of maximum curse energy cap. So that's pretty cool. At level 10, we're looking at 300 ranged jutsu damage to all enemies. And then the curse energy is still the same, so that's quite a significant buff. You're getting extra 150 damage, plus you're getting some extra curse energy back, so that's really cool. Starting off pretty good, actually. That's a pretty cool skill. Skill 2 here, defense from water, costs 15 curse energy. At level 1, you increase your own jutsu stat by 22.2% for 3 turns. You decrease your own damage received by 13.3% for 3 turns, and you increase your own ultimate gauge charging rate by 14.3 for 3 turns. So this is what I got mixed up from like Ino, where his decreases it, so it makes it more difficult. It increases the one you want. With that one's where it's gonna make it easier to get your ultimate a lot faster, right? And then of course the whole thing when you do the domain expansion, this skill does change, but this one will change into Death Swarm 2. But let's take a look at level 10. So level 10, you're now increasing your jutsu stat by 25% for 3 turns. You're now decreasing your damage dealt, or your damage received by 20%, so that's really cool. And then your ultimate gauge charging rate now gets increased to 40%, so overall, really good buffs. Jutsu stat gets slightly buffed, and then the other 2 do get buffed by a quite significant amount, in my opinion, specifically the ultimate charging rate. Now, at skill 2, when you do the domain expansion, what skill 2 turns into, which is going to be Death Swarm 2, at level 1, let's see, it also does cost 15 curse energy. You increase your own jutsu stat by 22.2% for 3 turns. You deal 245 range jutsu damage to all enemies, so another AoE skill, so that's pretty cool. And then you increase all enemies damage received by 7.4% for 3 turns. That's also really cool. At level 10, we're looking at increase own jutsu stat by 25% for 3 turns, so that is a good buff by a slight amount. And then he deals 400 range jutsu damage to all enemies, so that's really cool, especially with the fact that it's literally skill 2, so that's a big, huge amount in my opinion. And then he's also increasing all enemies damage received by 10% now, so an extra 3%. So the one that gets the most buff is the second one here for the damage, but at the same time, you know, that's what matters more, right? At least in this case. So really good buffs here, basically doing a lot of AoE damage when he does his ultimate, so that's really cool. Now skill 3 here, Disaster Tides at level 1 costs 20 cursed energy. You deal 122.7 range jutsu damage to all enemies, so this is AoE immediately off the bat. You stop all enemies' actions at a 20% chance for 2 turns for 1 time, and then you increase all enemies' damage received. Increases all enemies damage received by 7.4% for 2 turns. And then when we do the domain, this does change into Death Swarm 3. So honestly, that's kind of cool. So immediately you get AoE damage. You have this chance to stop all enemies' actions, so basically you stun them essentially. And then they also take increased damage for 2 turns. Now level 10, we're dealing 200 range damage to all enemies. You now have, okay, the chance is still the same, 20% chance. But now you are increasing all enemies damage received by 10% instead of 7.4. So honestly, still pretty good. Now let's take a look at what happens when you have the domain expansion going on. So at level 1, it does cost 40 curse energy, or yeah, okay, that's interesting too. So that's what I was wondering. Also, so skill 3 with no domain expansion, it costs 20 curse energy, right? When you do have the domain expansion, it's now 40 curse energy, so actually very much more expensive. But let's take a look as to why that is. So at level 1, you deal 240% range jutsu damage to all enemies for 3 hits. You stop all enemies' actions at 20% chance, so that's still the same. The damage does get buffed, so that's good. And then increases all enemies damage received by 7.4% for 3 turns, so that's still the same. Then you inflict 1 stack at 25% continuous jutsu damage, Horizon of the Captivating Skanda, basically the domain expansion here. So there's a continuous jutsu damage. Okay, it's interesting. So he has a bit of a deity thing going on. And then for 3 turns, each stack increases an additional 20%. So you have a total of, what is that? 60 plus the 25 here. So it's like 85% total, I think. Yeah, I think that's 85% total continuous damage if I'm doing my math right. At least level 1. Now at level 10, we're looking at deals 360 range jutsu damage to all enemies, and then everybody does still get hit with the increase all enemies damage received by 10%, and then that's basically it. So you just do more damage, but still pretty cool. Now let's get to the domain expansion. Ultimate domain expansion, Horizon of the Captivating Skanda. At level 1 here, you expand the domain for 6 turns, so that's actually quite significant, 6 turns. Now the domain effect for self, so this is something that I forgot his name, Dagon, but I don't know why I forgot his name, but Dagon gets. So he gets grants guaranteed hit effect and attack immunity nullification. He decreases his own damage received by 23.7%. He increases his own jutsu stat by 33.9%, and then he's unable to fill his own ultimate skill gauge, which usually is the case for domain expansions. Now this is what gets applied to the enemies. Domain effect all enemies, increases damage received by 7.4%. You inflict 5 stacks of 40% continuous jutsu damage, called Horizon of the Captivating Skanda. Each stack increases an additional 20%. So that's gonna be 100%, so like 140% total, I think. But that's still like a significant amount of damage. And then when you perform the ultimate skill, this is the actual like so these are the domain aspects of it, and then here's the actual damage, like ultimate part of it. That makes sense, right? Because there's the main expansion part of it, and then there's the actual ultimate part of it. And then the ultimate part of it, you deal 490 range jutsu damage to all enemies for 4 hits, and then you recover your own cursed energy by 40 regardless of maximum cursed energy cap. And then you do deplete your own cursed energy after the domain does deactivate, so you're kind of like screwed over a bit. By level 10, let's see. So now at level 10, he's reducing his own damage by 35%. He's increasing his own jutsu stat by 40%, and then he's increasing all enemies damage received by 10%. So that's still the same. And then now he's dealing more damage. Of course, he's dealing 800 range jutsu damage to all enemies. So that's pretty cool. And then that's basically it. So overall, more damage. He's able to reduce more damage. He's able to buff himself with more damage. And then that's basically it. So honestly, really good ultimate. Really, really good. It doesn't have any like stunning abilities, but he kind of does have that as a potential with skill 3 here, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, this is still really good. So basically, he's able to hit enemies through most things. And he's just like a lot stronger and a bit more beefier. So that's pretty cool. Plus, you have a cool little DOT effect with this whole Horizon of Captivating Skanda. So that's really cool. His combo ultimate here, he does a range of mixed damage of 64 physical and 64 jutsu to an enemy, and then he increases his own and the allies' jutsu stat by 20% for 4 turns, specifically the person you did the combo ultimate with. Now his other auto skill here, the Essence of Curses at the start of battle, grants cursed energy recovery to self, 1 time cannot be stacked, grants ultimate skill gauge recovery to self, 1 time cannot be stacked. If own HP is 40% or below, and cursed energy recovery is activated at the start of turn, you recover your own cursed energy by 20 regardless of maximum cursed energy cap. So here's a lot of this, so that's pretty cool. And then you decrease own damage received by 20% for 3 turns. You recover your own HP by 10% per turn for 3 turns, but you do remove cursed energy recovery. If your own HP is 40% or below, ultimate skill gauge is not filled and ultimate skill gauge recovery is activated at the start of the turn. You fill your own ultimate skill gauge by 1000 and you remove ultimate skill gauge recovery. So a bit of a vice versa thing here and there. So one where it's like if your own HP is 40% or below and you have cursed energy recovery, or if your own HP is 40% or below, the ultimate skill gauge is not filled and ultimate skill gauge is activated at the start of turn, then you basically get these, which is pretty interesting. But honestly, not too bad. He has a bit of survivability, which is cool. 10% per turn for 3 turns is not too bad, so it's like a total of 30% maximum. And it does have an extra decreased own damage received. So overall, really good character. Doesn't seem like anything too crazy in my opinion. He kind of seems like another Mahito in the sense of like he's really good at outputting damage. Granted, Jogo does the same thing, right? He's literally meant for damage. But yeah, he has some decent survivability skills. So I would honestly, go for him. Pick him from the Phantom Metal Exchange if you have enough medals, because I mean, hey, I don't know, it's a brand new character too, right? Plus that means more free cubes. By how much, I'm not too sure, but it does. You do at least get some free cubes from leveling this guy up. Yeah, overall his kit seems pretty good. I'd say personally, judging off his kit in the tier list, he's a DPS character. I'd say he's probably somewhere between high S, maybe low double S for damage, that's where I would put him personally, because he definitely seems like he's on the same level for sure as like this yellow Nanami, but you could maybe make an argument that he's like close to double S tier, but at the same time, you know, he's not outputting the same amount of damage that Yuji could do. So I'd say he's probably high S, low double S. Is where I would personally put him. But yeah, honestly, pretty good character, seems pretty strong. And of course, Ino is down here at A tier, which, you know, we just lost K, we know why. Sorry for this video being a little bit long. You know, we did have to break down a couple, you know, extra characters here. But when that being said though, guys, good luck with your summons. For the free summons, you guys are, you know, for Ino, because, you know, because I'm assuming everybody's gonna do the free summon, right? If you are planning to do any more summons for Ino, because maybe you like Ino a lot, good luck with those pulls. Otherwise, you know, we have way better banners that are going to be coming out very, very soon. Specifically, Choso might be coming out soon, you know, just saying. But with that being said, though, hope this video helps you guys out. And with that being said, I'm going to see y'all later. Peace and take care, everybody.